Okay, welcome everyone to the Maybe Medical School, Maybe Not Exploring Careers in Healthcare webinar. My name is Mary Shannon. I am one of the career coaches in CVS Career Services. I'll let Fred introduce himself here.
Hi everyone, my name is Fred Williams. I'm a career counselor in the PreHealth Student Resource Center. So I do a lot of one-on-one work with our students and teach several of the classes that we offer through our office as well.
All right. Just want to acknowledge I'm working off of two screens, so if you see me looking up and away, that's my second screen I'm looking at. But I wanted to take a quick second and introduce you to the rest of the CVS career team, which is made up of the individuals pictured on your screen. CVS Career Services is available to all CVS undergraduate students up to 2 years after graduation. We work with all students who are interested in pre-health professions, graduate school, and finding careers in industry. We're here to help and assist you in major and career exploration, finding research opportunities, job and internship opportunities, making connections with alumni and employers, applying to health professional or graduate school, and more.
All right, and then just a little bit about what we do in the PreHealth Student Resource Center. So I like to talk about us as another layer of support. So you already get great career support through your CVS career coaches. And then you also have the option to work with us to have a refined focus on your pre-health pathway into that health career. So we work with students through all phases of their journey. So if you're on the explore phase, just kind of looking at health careers and considering your options, we have different resources and services we'd offer to help you in that part. So once you settle on that career pathway, we'll help you prepare for that direction, make sure that you're on the road to becoming a competitive applicant to your health program. And then we'll actually help you with the application process itself. So completing the application, working on your personal statement, preparing for interviews, that sort of thing. So I like to say that, your work with us starts right now and continues all the way up until you gain entry into your health program. So that can be, sometimes 3, 4, 5, or 6 years, depending on, how long it takes you to get there. If you take some time off in between your undergrad and when you start your professional program, I've seen students kind of go run the gamut in that way too. So yeah, so really excited to have you be a part of our work together, and looking forward to keep sharing this information with you today to help you continue that exploration phase.
All right, so an overview of what we're going to be doing today. Fred's going to talk a little bit about medical school, pharmacy school, and dental school, excuse me. We're going to highlight a few other pre-health professions. We'll talk about how you explore careers in healthcare, and then we're going to highlight some upcoming events as well. If you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and we have time at the end that we'll reserve for answering your questions.
All right, so we're gonna talk about medicine, pharmacy, and dentistry first, because we know that's where a majority of our CVS pre-health students go. So, with medicine, very, very common pathway and entry point into looking at healthcare. I think it's among the most popular for a variety of reasons, right? Because we've got it as a very visible profession. So everybody, pretty much comes into contact with a physician at different points in their life. It's out there, they're the leaders of the healthcare team. So they're often the ones that are providing, that final authority over healthcare plans. They're connecting the various team members to and bringing them in to make decisions, finding the best pathway for a health career. But it's among the most competitive too. So I think it's really important to know that up front and know what you're stepping into as you'd be going down the pathway toward medicine. So at the U of M Medical School, our average GPA for students getting into the program is usually around a 3.7, 3.8. There are about, for any public school, you want to keep in mind, like like the University of Minnesota, it's going to be largely composed of in-state residents. So in the case of the University of Minnesota Medical School, that tends to be around 75 to 80% of Minnesota residents comprising their class. So I always say, you want to keep your in-state medical schools high on your list if you're looking at those options. So the kind of pathway it takes to get to medicine is the longest as well. So it's a big commitment. It's something you want to be aware of ahead of time. And I think that's one factor in terms of identifying a good fit for which school you'll be a part of. So Mary Shannon, if you could give that a click, it'll give us the timeline there. So, it's a 4-year bachelor's degree, followed by 4 years of medical school. So your first 2 years of medical school will be more of that classroom-based work, followed by 2 years of those clinical rotations where you're in different hospitals and clinics, seeing different specialty areas of medicine, really kind of trying to figure out what type of physician you're going to be. So at the end of medical school, you have your MD, which is then followed up by a residency period. So that's where you're deciding which specialty in medicine you're going to be. So the kind of shorter end is 3 years, which would be your primary care areas. So, primary care, family medicine, pediatrics, those types of things. The ones that are on the longer end, so if you're talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, could be some of the specialty areas that just require an advanced amount of training. So somebody who wants to become a highly specialized neurosurgeon might be, doing a full residency with a fellowship and extra training beyond that as well. So, so it's a long pathway from start to finish. You're talking about your starting with your bachelor's degree all the way up until practice beyond residency. Can sometimes be that 11-year mark, 12-year mark before you're even practicing as a full-time physician. So, so we do have a student here profiled that we've worked with, Ben. We just want to kind of point out some of the things that Ben shared with us. He's now in medical school. He's a CBS grad as well. He worked closely with our office in a variety of ways, but I think, as you're identifying which health profession to be a part of, it's all about finding, what's going to motivate you to get there and identifying like if you're going to be a good fit for this field. So, so one of Ben's recommendations is, or one of Ben's, primary motivating factors was identifying like what type of physician you wanted to become. So somebody who just serves diverse communities, promotes that holistic approach to health, builds empathetic patient relationships. And how he really figured that out was through a variety of experiences that he was a part of as an undergrad. So really getting involved in the community was one factor, through different service opportunities. He also studied abroad in Thailand and went on one of our global seminars, winter break seminars that showed him kind of the public health side of things and how to take care, how to take into account preventative medicine as it relates to overall patient health. So those were just a couple big factors that led to the decision there. And then his advice, is just something you can read off there, but just to get started early, starting today, like what can you tap into in terms of resources that will enhance your learning experience and really guide those interests and really help you identify what you're going to be passionate about. And, as you're going along, just being reflective, like, are these experiences really, feeling good? Are they affirming the direction I'm headed? And does that also align with medicine and the type of health profession I hope to become? Right. So kind of taking a look at the next one with pharmacy, this is a field where I think we find that when I'm talking to students who are exploring healthcare, sometimes they shy a little bit away from pharmacy because we see the community pharmacists maybe at a Walgreens, CVS type of setting. They seem to be behind the desk and just filling medications, and that's all they do. That's one aspect of pharmacy, right? So they're actually the drug experts on the healthcare team. So if you think of it from that standpoint, they're offering a unique lens and perspective into providing healthcare to patients. So the other health professionals are not going to be as knowledgeable in this area, but where does medication play a role in management and care for your patients? So just to bring that lens of expertise means this is going to be a very valuable member of that team. The community pharmacy is just one aspect though. So that's where I think less than half of the pharmacists actually work in those settings. So you find them in all kinds of different industries, if you're interested in, you kind of like the idea of chemistry, biochemistry, and how that interacts with the body, but you also want that patient contact as well. Pharmacy can do that for you. It's a type of field where, we're seeing more of those pharmacists have the opportunity to talk with their patients and provide them consultation, sometimes over the counter. We have pharmacists that are in the hospital that actually do rounds similar to the physicians do. So they're going around and checking on their patients, seeing how that medication is interacting with the patients, and if it's getting the desired outcomes, that sort of thing. So you find pharmacists all over the place, industry, hospitals, community settings, things like that. So, so it's interesting too, because the pharmacy applications have been kind of down in recent years. So compared to medicine, it's not as competitive to get into. It's still an area where, it's not easy to get into pharmacy school, but it's not as competitive as when you compare it to medicine. But, so where average GPA for students getting into the U of M pharmacy school is right around a 3.5. And after graduation, about half of the grads are going directly into employment, half are going into residency programs to gain further specialty and knowledge, so that they can kind of refine what type of pharmacist they'll become. So you have a few options actually from start to finish for working in pharmacy. It's going to be a shorter time frame in school to practice compared to medicine as well. So we have one student profile on this page as well, Grace. So recently graduated from the College of Pharmacy, and I think really started to identify, why pharmacy was a good fit, through, as you can see, like just emergency department volunteering. So very common experience is just to, during regular times when we're not in a pandemic, is to, gain experience by volunteering in a hospital or clinic setting, just to sort of get a feel for, what type of health professionals are there, how they're helping patients, what they're doing on a daily basis. So as a volunteer, Grace really kind of saw this at kind of a tragic situation with a preventable medication error, but then really kind of did some good reflection on that and took that to heart and identified, like, okay, this is an area where I definitely feel like I can make a difference. I can help patients in this way. And that's the start of, that motivating piece that led her to pharmacy school, which is really, really great and exciting. So, and then really learning what pharmacists do and the greater impact they have. So, when you're talking about like accessible medications too, there's, not just sometimes one pathway to meeting a patient's needs. We've got to factor in sometimes, like, there are certain medications that cost more, and that's not going to work for every patient. So if you're knowledgeable in that area, perhaps you can find a better solution that's going to meet the needs for that patient and make that positive impact on their lives. So so that's a little bit about pharmacy in itself. So the next one we'll talk about is with dentistry. So I think a lot of us are familiar with dentists and what they do. It tends to be like a really great career for students who are looking for life balance, and I think the job satisfaction rate is through the roof in this field compared to other health professions where you might be a little more stressed and just a bigger time crunch and demand on your schedule and time. So dentists tend to be extremely happy with their decision to go into this career. So they're the ones that are, providing that oral care, early detection of disease diagnosis. Sometimes it's just the aesthetic improvement and what that can do for a patient's livelihood. Sometimes they're working on the surgical restoration so that the patient can just function in a daily life, continue to eat and drink the food that and everything that they need to survive. And they also tend to take a really strong preventative approach to public education with making sure patients and the communities understand the importance of oral health. So when we're talking about dentistry as from an admission standpoint, it's a class size of about 105 students at the U of M compared to pharmacy, which is a little bit higher because they've got a split campus with Twin Cities and Duluth. So pharmacy tends to enroll like about 160, 170 students per class. medical school is about 170 per class at the Twin Cities, and about 60 in Duluth. So dental school is a little bit smaller compared to those two programs. Their average GPA tends to run around a 3.5, 3.6 each year as well. So a little less competitive to get into dentistry compared to medicine, but still demanding, you know. So yeah, students will, you know, complete their bachelor's degree again. Dental school's a 4-year process. You get your DDS there, and then you move into a residency for a year. So a lot of dental students go into general practice residency, so they can kind of work almost anywhere as a dentist, and that takes about a year, and then you're fully practicing. Some students will go on to a specialty program. So if you think about like orthodontics or endodontics, a few of those other areas, those specialty programs are 2 years in length, and then you're moving on. So faster pathway from start to finish for practice when you compare dentistry to medicine. The student profile we've got on here, Andy just graduated this spring, and you know, we asked him specifically because, you know, he had an interesting journey as an undergrad, and we asked him specifically about, you know, what it meant to be a first generation college student and how, you know, that helped him actually persist through bachelor's degree and then get into dental school. So like many students, you know, I think he was very intimidated first setting foot on campus. We're actually from the same hometown in Hibbing, Minnesota. So I didn't know that until I actually met with him last year. So kind of small coincidence, but like I get the feeling, I understand that feeling too, like what it means to go from a small town to the big city, huge university, and try to get adjusted to the culture, but really, you know, kind of finding your fit. I think that means, in my opinion, and kind of Andy also from this, like finding your community on campus so that you feel like you belong, you know, not just in your academic setting, you know, in terms of like finding that community within CBS, within your major, but also finding that career fit too. Like those pieces can go hand in hand in terms of just like knowing you're headed in the right direction for you, that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel for, you know, that career development and that direction you're going to take. So just knowing that you've got really a lot of people in place that I think will be there to support you with your CBS team, with the PreHealth Student Resource Center, and knowing that, you know, it's really great to ask questions and, you know, talk about concerns you have, and really develop yourself as a student going forward. Like those are all, you know, important tidbits I think that you know, Andy shared with us too when we were just talking about like finding, you know, that career fit and what that really means and what type of impact that can have on you as you're going through college, but then also seeing like what that means once you understand, like, okay, well, as a health professional, you know, what type of impact will you have on the patients that you'll serve down the road, and making sure that's aligning with your passion and your interests as well. All right, so I will turn it over to Mary Shannon for the next part.
All right. So Fred just spent some time highlighting medicine, dentistry, and pharmacy because those tend to be the top pre-health professions CBS students are interested in, but there are several other professions that are also considered pre-health, and I've listed some of them here on the screen for you to see. We've seen student interest change over their course of their undergraduate education from those top 3 programs into some of these other ones. DO and PA programs are especially common places for students to develop interest after kind of moving away from those top 3 programs. I've also added public health and genetic counseling to this list, and while they're technically not considered pre-health professions, they are 2 other very popular interests of CBS students and do have similar application processes or requirements for being admitted to their master's level programs. So I wanted to share with you the story of a student I met with last fall in CBS. This particular student came in during fall semester of their junior year and was a declared neuroscience major and had been on a pre-med track. After realizing medical school and an MD weren't a good fit for them within their first 2 years, this student developed an interest in PA school. However, they were also experiencing burnout from education during their undergraduate degree and didn't know if more schooling was for them. This student described being a social person who wants to help people, and they had shadowed an anesthesiologist and a radiologist, but didn't want to pursue those jobs because, in this student's words, they just sit all day. This student wanted to be doing something different every day. And they also indicated high interest in working out and learning about healthy eating habits. So how did this student explore other careers available to them in healthcare? Well, we started by having a conversation about why healthcare was a field of interest. The student indicated, again, wanting to help people and just really saw themselves working in the industry. They knew absolutely lab work was not going to be the profession for them, and really wanted to be doing something different and have variety in their daily routine. These types of reflection questions are great ones to ask yourself as you begin exploring careers in healthcare. You can start thinking about what aspect of certain health professions make you want to help people. Why are you choosing one health profession over the other? Which again are kind of questions Fred was talking about as that self-reflection piece when you even are thinking about a fit for medical school, dental school, or pharmacy school. I hear from students over and over again that they don't want to go to medical school because the lifestyle of physician doesn't match up with how they see their future. Think about these things as well. I'd hate to have you spend 4 more years learning about and paying for a profession that you're not going to like once you start working within it. Consider goals and outcomes each job will bring you. This particular student started with their interest in health and wellness and started researching a career in healthcare as a nutritionist or dietitian. I also recently met with a student who was interested in pursuing an MD PhD program because they wanted to be in charge of research and also work with patients. I encouraged this student to think more about what their job outcomes were and what was important for them in their work. Was an MD PhD the best fit, or was perhaps an MS or PhD in clinical research a better fit? If these questions feel too big, you can start broader and think about the setting you see yourself in the future, who or what you're interacting with, and what you enjoy learning about or what you're passionate about. So once you have answers to some of those basic questions, the next step in exploration is figuring out what occupations match your interests and goals. One great website for students who know they want to work in healthcare is the website Explore Health Careers. I personally like this website because it highlights a wide variety of careers in healthcare, even ones you may not think of as being a healthcare career. Things like social work or positions in mental health or the intersection of business and healthcare are some of the things that come to mind and are discussed on the Explore Health Career website. Several positions have tiles like in the image you can see on your screen. You can click on each of those tiles to learn more about the career, education requirements, and average salaries. I also like the website ONET Online for exploration. And the second image shows what the homepage of this website looks like. I like to use this page to search by industry or typing in a job title into the search bar directly. You can look at common job titles and their job responsibilities, and again, education requirements and salary requirements through this page. In general, this website is really great for career exploration no matter what field you're going into. So once you have a few careers in mind and you looking for ways to explore those further, it's often helpful to learn what people in those jobs do day to day from someone who's in that career. It's one thing to read about it, one thing to kind of get a feel for it yourself through people who do it every day. This can be done through shadowing workers. It can be done through volunteering in a space where you get to interact with people who are in the positions of interest. You could also conduct informational interviews, which are one-on-one meetings with a professional where you can ask them questions about their job, and it will help you just learn more about their career and how to get into it. The student I had just mentioned who is considering an MD, PhD, or that clinical research, MS or PhD, decided to conduct informational interviews with both current MD, PhDs and people who have an MS or PhD in clinical research to help figure out which position held the job responsibilities the student was most interested in having in their future career. Student groups on campus are another great resource for exploration and often bring in professionals to interact with students who are interested in professions. That's a really great networking opportunity. And then other panels or networking opportunities with employers or alumni are great resources too. We have a couple of these coming up this week for students who are interested in healthcare careers that I'll highlight in the next slide. But I also wanted to say that you are always welcome to meet with myself or my colleague, Kristen, to talk about exploring careers, and especially if you're looking for more assistance with anything we have discussed today. So, as mentioned, we have a couple of panels and networking opportunities available this week as part of our PreHealth Career Week in CVS. One is an event with alums tomorrow talking about getting into medical school. The other is on Friday and features alums in healthcare careers, and you can check them out if you'd like to hear more from CVS graduates. Space in both of these events is limited to 16 people, and advance registration is required. So if you're interested in attending these, check out the most recent bio briefs that get sent out to CBS students on Mondays for information on how to get registered. We're also offering an interview prep workshop tomorrow and a personal statement workshop on Thursday if you're interested in attending any of those.
All right, and just wanted to also plug a few of our upcoming events and services that you can attend. We do have a webinar for planning for your gap year coming up later this semester. So it's, I believe it's the first week of November, so you can find the dates for that. We do have a PreHealth newsletter that you can sign up for as well. You can access all this information on our website to healthcareers.umn.edu. We do hold virtual drop-in sessions each week, so those are things that those are sessions you can also sign up for. So if you'd like to just do a quick connection with one of our staff, our career counselors, and our student services specialist, we're available to connect with you via the drop-ins. You can just pop in, ask some questions, and leave. And we do have specific sessions for PES, TRIO, and MK students for the drop-ins. And then we also have our health program action plans available on our website. So if you'd like to meet with or set up a career counseling appointment with myself or one of the other career counselors in the office, we have you go to our website first. We have these action plan documents that you fill out. And that's just basically a way for us to gather some information about where you're at today, what health profession or professions you're interested in, any ideas you have in terms of like planning for experiences and things like that. And then you can also indicate any specific questions you have for the meeting. So use those as sort of like a guide, an intake, but also just a way for you to kind of get started and do some reflection on your own planning before you come into the appointment. So you can find those on our website and set up those meetings anytime. And then we also teach a few classes too. So I'm an instructor for AHS 1102 Orientation to Health Careers, which is just a career exploration class focused on health professions. So it's a 1-credit class, something you could think about for spring semester. We also have a number of other classes that we teach around like writing the personal statement, future physician, courses like that. You can also find more information about on our website.
All right, and we do have some time for questions. So if you have anything you are wondering, feel free to drop those in the Q&A and we can answer them for you.